After New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani decided that I'm going to continue the recent trend of avoiding investing New York City pension funds into Israeli bonds, he talks a little bit about the lack of morality in doing that, in actually sending the money or buying up Israeli bonds. And I think he's got a really good case here because, well, you got to take a look at what's been happening in Gaza recently. A lot of Americans are under the impression that Trump succeeded in getting Hamas and Israel to sign a ceasefire deal, except one side has not at all followed the ceasefire or respected it. In fact, there are now 2 Israeli organizations in recent days, by the way, who outlined some of Israel's crimes. One of those associations is the Association for Civil Rights in Israel. The second one is the human rights group known as B'Tselem. So the Association for Civil Rights in Israel engaged in a year-long battle for the release of reports from the Public Defender's Office of the Justice Ministry. They wanted to know, how are these Palestinian hostages, because they haven't been charged with anything, how are these hostages being treated in these prisons? We all saw the video of the IDF soldiers gang raping a Palestinian hostage in a prison. They didn't suffer any consequences for doing so because Israelis protested the notion of any type of punishment. But nonetheless, the Association for Civil Rights in Israel engaged in this year-long battle, and here's what they found from the documents that were finally eventually released. Palestinian security detainees held in Israeli prisons have suffered from severe and systematic violence from prison guards, deprivation of food, and medical neglect, while also having been subjected to unsanitary conditions that caused and exacerbated outbreaks of disease in the prisons. Currently, by the way, Israel holds 6,700 Palestinian detainees who have not been charged with a crime. Additionally, another 1,200 Palestinians from Gaza who were detained after October 7th are being held in Israeli prisons and detention facilities as unlawful combatants. They too have yet to be charged with a single crime. They're just hostages. Now, the inspectors described the conditions in one prison they visited as not fit to hold human beings, and said of another that their findings showed unnecessary and unjustified violence against prisoners carried out on a regular basis and on numerous occasions. So Oded Feller, who happens to be an attorney with this organization, ACRI, they're the ones who engaged in this year-long battle to get these documents. Well, this gentleman, Feller, worked on obtaining the public defender's reports, that these reports we received have confirmed the testimony of prisoners and the reports of human rights groups and international organizations about widespread abuses in Israel's prisons. They show that these sadistic outrages are indeed taking place in Israeli prisons. This is not some American leftist saying this. This is an Israeli with an Israeli organization who fought for the release of these documents saying this. Several detainees said that they were subjected to violence every time they left their prison wing to go to the medical clinic, meet with a lawyer, or to go to the video conference room for legal proceedings. So every time they left their cell, they would be abused. Prisoners showed us their wrists with red welts, swelling, and scabs. The inspectors reported, adding that the beatings took place in areas of the prison where there is no CCTV coverage. And honestly, even if they did it with surveillance capturing every second of the abuse, there'd be no consequences for them, as we learned following the gang rape of a prisoner. So the human rights group B'Tselem also focused on the sexual abuse that takes place in these prisons. So this is now the second Israeli organization. They found that there's a grave pattern of sexual violence in detention facilities and prisons, in a report released on Tuesday detailing abuse of Palestinians in Israeli jails. It ranges from threats of sexual assault through forced stripping to actual sexual assaults, the report found. These include beatings to the genitals that cause severe injuries, setting dogs on prisoners, and forced anal penetration with various objects. And there is one Palestinian prisoner by the name of Sami al-Saei who has been speaking out about the abuse that he suffered. He was raped while he was held as a hostage by the Israelis. The 47-year-old father of 6 was held without any charge or trial from February of 2024 to June of 2025. Over a year in Israeli detention, he's getting raped and abused, hasn't been charged with anything, nothing. He heard the Israeli prison guards who raped him laughing through the assault before they left him lying blindfolded, handcuffed, and in agony on the floor to take a cigarette break. He described sexual torture that lasted more than 20 minutes, including beatings on his buttocks, a guard applying extreme pressure to his genitals, and forced anal penetration with 2 different objects. And I've got more details that I wish I didn't have to get into, but I can if we need to.
So you see with human rights groups like B'Tselem that Israel does have its better angels, right? And so they're trying hard to get them back to, in my view, real Judaism, looking out for the underdog, challenging authority, etc. But they've got their work cut out for them, and I love that they exist, and I love that they're fighting for someone who isn't them, which is a very progressive thing to do. And I know some the folks that aren't progressive that go, no, your clan, your tribe, you have to love them and care, and then everyone else you hate and attack nonstop. But that's not the progressive mindset, and I love B'Tselem for doing this, and I appreciate that. Okay, now I'm super proud that we do a show, Young Turks, is 6 to 8 p.m. every day Eastern on YouTube, right, and all the other places we're on. And at 8 o'clock we do this revolution where we're trying to do a peaceful, nonviolent revolution where we crowdsource it and we bring right, left, center together, right? And one of our tasks that we decided on right in the beginning was trying to get an American kid, Mohammed Ibrahim, who was 16, out of an Israeli gulag, the kind of gulags that they're describing here. And so he immediately picked up a disease there. He lost 30% of his body weight, obviously being abused by the Israelis. And finally, there was enough pressure, not just from us, but from a lot of different people. Senator Van Hollen did a great job from Maryland. And we put enough pressure that the Israelis are like, are we not merciful? We will stop torturing the American kid. Like all the other Americans, we killed them, who cares, right? They've killed 9 Americans since October 7th. There's been no accountability. Our government doesn't even ask for accountability. Please murder more Americans, right? But we got that one American kid out of their torture prisons, right? And I feel super proud about that. And thank you to everyone in our audience that helped with that. Okay, now, look at the core of what they're saying, what Anna just reported. So first of all, every accusation is a confession, especially when it comes to the Israelis. So right after October 7th, they were like, rape. There was everything, widespread rape. Now, by the way, at that time, there was almost no evidence for it. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but they were like, oh, we saw blood somewhere, so it must have been mass rape.
They argue that Hamas uses rape as a weapon of war, that it was a systematic thing that they do.
Yeah, and so there was no, if you dare to discuss that issue and say, okay, no, I'm totally open to it. Hamas is terrorist, and I get it, and it might be true. Can you give us evidence? Well, mainstream media would say, how dare you, you anti-Semite? We don't need any stinking evidence. They're all Muslim rapists, right? Now, meanwhile, here's the discrepancy. Now, if Hamas did that, then we should be livid with them, right? And then, by the way, all decapitated babies, and American media ran with that propaganda 24/7, rape, decapitated babies, the Muslim terrorist, right? And then you turn to Israel and you go, look, here is an Israeli human rights group saying there's rape in these Israeli prisons. American media is like, shut up. No, we're not gonna report that. Back to the propaganda, everybody. And remember, anyone who quotes an Israeli saying that these prisons are torture chambers and they're not getting their rights is an anti-Semite. How could I be an anti-Semite for quoting an Israeli human rights group? Because guys, American mainstream media is not news at all. It's just propaganda. It's marketing for the powerful, not just for Israel, but for big pharma, big oil, all those things. But yes, when it comes to Israel, it is pure propaganda, mainline, streamlined propaganda that is coming out of CBS, CNN, ABC, all the major networks. They're all pro-Israel. They will bury any news that is negative about Israel, but any news that might or might not be true, about Palestinians or Muslims or Arabs, they promote to the very top and go, we don't need any stinking evidence. Oh, they're all rapists. Israel, they're all angels. And anyone who objects to the rape of all these prisoners must be an anti-Semite. No, you're getting the whole country to, like, you're aggravating people to the point where they're gonna turn into anti-Semites. Like, everyone is like, I can now sense people trying really hard not to be anti-Semites, to not fall into this hatred that they want us to go into. And I'm not gonna do it because I'm anti-hatred and I'm anti-discrimination against any race or religion. I'm on the left, and ideologically I would never be in favor of it. But they keep pushing and pushing. No, Israel demands special treatment. Israel is holy and moral. Hey, did they take 53% of Gaza right in front of our eyes? Did they ethnically cleanse them, drive out literally every Palestinian, murder 70,000 at a bare minimum, 130,000 injured, 10% of all of Gaza, destroyed every building? But American media is like, I can't see it. All I can see is beautiful, glorious Israel. Jake Tapper, Anderson Cooper, are any of you guys going to report on the disgusting things that the Israelis do to Palestinians in prisons, and Palestinians that didn't even do anything wrong? There's no charges on all these, on so many of these guys.
And yeah, any word on your fellow journalists who are being slaughtered in Gaza even still? Because they just killed 3 journalists on Wednesday, one day. This is incredible. So one of them, by the way, works for CBS. I'm sure it was real painful for Bari Weiss to see that the news organization she oversees had to put out something about it, right? I wouldn't be surprised if she shared the coordinates of where the journalist was. And I'm not even kidding about that, okay? She is one of the biggest scumbags in media you could ever imagine. But Abdel Raouf Sayat, a contributor to CBS News and French press, was killed along with Mohamed Kista and Anas Ghanim after their car was hit by an Israeli strike while leaving a camp for displaced people. According to reports, the 3 journalists were recording footage of the camp while on assignment for the media arm of an Egyptian relief committee.
So Israel has now killed at a minimum 258 journalists in this conflict. It is more than
in this genocide.
In this genocide, and that is more journalists than all other conflicts in the world combined in that time period. The Russians are doing plenty of damage in Ukraine. There's some significant civil wars going on in Africa, but they're nowhere near the body count of Israel on journalists. Why? Because Israel's trying to kill the journalists.
Yep.
Israel has assassinated Shireen Abu Akleh, an American journalist, right? And CNN even concluded that they assassinated her. They've killed all of these journalists so that you cannot see what's going on in Gaza. And they don't allow any foreign journalists into Gaza because they know that if you put cameras in there and you have real journalists, people are gonna go, oh, it turns out the Israelis are genocidal maniacs who are slaughtering these people.
We already know though.
Okay.
I mean, banning the journalists, slaughtering the journalists, didn't hide your war crimes, did it?
So, but again, we go back to the giant liars in establishment media. And Jamal Khashoggi killed by the Saudis. You saw us be furious about that, right? They dismembered the poor guy, Washington Post columnist, not an American citizen, but it doesn't matter. He's a Washington Post columnist. How dare you, right? So we condemn Saudi Arabia 200%. That's one journalist Saudi Arabia killed. Israel kills 258 journalists, 258 versus 1. No condemnation from anyone in traditional media at all. Like, you got great heroes like Trey Yingst, who's on Fox News, believe it or not. We're fair and honest, and that brother's doing great work. Jeremy Diamond doing great work. Calissa Ward, she condemned it. Yingst condemned the journalists being killed. But outside of them, almost all the major anchors are like, no, cover up the news. Don't let anyone find out how disgusting Israel is, how they murdered journalists after journalists. Okay, now, let me ask you this. So the main reason that the Israelis give for the 58-year occupation of the Palestinians, where they have kept them enslaved for 58 years, 5.5 million Palestinians is, well, they hate us.
Yeah, they do hate you. They do hate
I wonder
you.
why.
I mean, seriously, like, do you see how you behave and how the international community, other than Americans that you've bought, how they see you. I mean, do you think people are gonna like you? Do you think people are gonna like you?
And you know what the problem with this mindset that they have?
They're entitled. That's the problem with the
100%.
mindset. They think they get to do whatever they want and everyone needs to bow their heads to them. No, sorry, we do not comply. When you act like genocidal lunatics and maniacs, people are gonna see you as genocidal lunatics and maniacs. And you can go ahead and call me an anti-Semite, but they never call you wrong. They never tell you why you're wrong. They never do, they just smear you. They just smear you.
So we just covered the story of the New York City pensions going to Israeli bonds, the only country who gets it. And the comments that were given as a defense of that is Israel deserves special treatment. Why? Why? And when you ask the simplest question in the world, why do they deserve special treatment? They're like, anti-Semite, make sure he never works again. Do you see what you're doing? Are you insane? You're driving up hatred. Are you insane? I'm trying to minimize the hatred.
That's not your job. That's not your job. That's their job. That is their job, and they don't want to do it. They love what they're doing. They'll just smear everyone. They'll swing their power with their billionaire, oligarchs who control this country. Okay, they'll get Larry Ellison and his piece of crap son to buy up the media and shut out anyone who dare tell the truth about Israel. But we all see it, it's all abundantly clear to us. Their little games aren't working and they can't stand it. They can't stand it.
Yeah, and Scott Stringer said that Israel not getting special treatment for the first time in New York should not be normalized. Don't normalize Israel being exceptionally treated no matter what they do, right? Okay, so how do you expect the Palestinians to not hate you when you keep slaughtering them and taking their land, and you just murdered 20,000 of their kids, and you murder their journalists, and you murder the human rights workers, and you rape them in the prisons, and you put them as hostages in the prisons without any rights at all? Are the Palestinians supposed to go, oh my God, I woke up, and despite the fact that I just got raped by Israeli guards, I now love Israel? See, why do they do that, guys? Because they set unreasonable expectations on purpose so they can never get the peace. Because they don't want peace, they want land. And so what you just saw with your own eyes over the last 2 years is that they just stole 53% of Gaza after murdering almost everyone in that area or driving them out through a campaign of ethnic cleansing. That is special, it's especially evil. They are one of the most evil governments in the world right now, and it's actually not that close. Like, oh, you should be afraid of Iran. And Iran, the Ayatollah sucks, and I hope they get a democracy in Iran, and we're fair to everyone. But don't tell me that I have to be like, oh my God, all these are evil countries. Israel's the one that's attacking all their neighbors, and they brutalize the Palestinians, and they demand that we bow our heads and finance all their war crimes, all their atrocities, and give them special treatment because we owe them. And the beatings will continue, the rapes will continue, the genocide will continue until the Palestinians love us. Until Hamas gives up all of its weapons. How do you know they gave up all their weapons? Until they all surrender. How do you know they all surrendered? Oh, right. These are impossible standards on purpose so they can murder more Palestinians and steal more of their land. But American media, shh. They're not news. American media is not news. It is pure propaganda for Israel. And debate me. If you, by the way, Jake Tapper, anyone, come at me. Let's do a debate. Let's do a rational debate. Your channel, my channel, an independent channel. They won't debate it. They'll just smear you. And they'll say Israel is the greatest thing in the world and deserves everything. And we should all shut up and be occupied by Israel. No, no thanks. America, let's go, let's go, let's get free. Let's get free of Israel. I can't stand this. I don't want to pay for a genocide. I don't want to pay for a genocide of any country, and that includes Israel. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.